Hi, welcome back to another episode of At Home with Cathy. Today we're going to work on this sweet little cupboard that has been donated as part of our project. This whole season is going to be about painting furniture that has been donated, and we're going to have an auction in May to fundraise for Chrysalis House as they are building a new house. So this piece is kind of interesting. It was two pieces at one point, and if you see down here, you can see it used to have another partner, and it had a mirror or something that went all across the back, but at some point in its life somebody took it apart. It is a sweet little cupboard. It would be perfect for a little bit of extra bathroom storage, a bedside cupboard, or even in your living room. So I'm calling it a small cupboard. I'm going to tell you something. I tried to get this handle off because I do like to take the hardware off. I couldn't get it off. It's totally seized on there. I've used WD-40. I've tried everything. So I'm just going to paint over it. And that's kind of a little hint. If you can't get the hardware off, incorporate it. I've decided that I'm going to paint it into the finish that we're doing, and I'll put a brand new piece on here, which will kind of pop out, but this one will disappear. When I finish painting all this, you really won't notice that the piece is missing right here, because we're going to paint it all in and it's all going to become one piece. I love my little swishing table. So we're referencing projects from The Colorist. This is Annie Sloan's series of inspirational magazines on paint projects, not just paint projects, but design ideas for your home, for your life in general. You can use them outside, you could use them at work. And at the back of each issue, she's got a series of how-to. So this one is an ombre wardrobe, and it's a beautiful look. You start with a base coat, which we're going to do in a moment, and then you blend in 4 different colors of paint. So we're going to try and achieve this finish on this little wardrobe. The first thing you do is you do a base coat in Louis Blue and Duck Egg Blue all over the whole piece using 2 brushes and 2 different colors. So you are going to blend them, and we're going to go vertically with our blending. When you do that, you're going to transfer paint from, say, Louis Blue to Duck Egg, so you don't really want to dip back into your can. I usually use disposable coffee cups. I'm going to be contaminating the color, so I pour out what paint I think I'm going to use. I can always add more of, say, Louis Blue or Duck Egg. Or if I'm near the end of a can, which I am with one of my colors, I'm not going to worry about it because they think I'm going to use all the paint. But if you are doing a finish like this and you're going to be cross-contaminating, pour it into 2 separate containers, either disposable or something that you, because I can throw this in the compost, this particular one, or glass jars if you want to put the lid on. But let's get started. So the 2 colors I'm using to create my base are Duck Egg and Louis Blue. And these 2 are going to blend together and give us a nice soft base that, as we put our second coat on, is going to come through just a little bit. I have my paints ready here. This is the end of a tin of my Louis Blue, and it's a little bit thick, so for my purposes that'll be fine. And then I poured out some Duck Egg because that was a brand new tin and I didn't want to cross-contaminate. And the other thing I have here is a little spray bottle. If I find as I'm going that my paint starts to dry, we're painting at home and we heat with wood so our air is dry, it may dry faster than I want, so I want something that I can give a good mist. This is very important. You don't want something that gives drops, you want mist. So I have this ready to go if I need it. But we're going to start with the top. I'm going to add some Duck Egg, go across my back, and what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to do this sort of in streaks, where I do a streak of Duck Egg, then I'll pick up my Louis Blue brush and blend in the Louis Blue. Now because we're doing an ombre finish, normally you'd take your drawers out and you would paint your drawers separately. But with this kind of finish, it's important that the color's consistent all the way down. There's no way I'd be able to get a consistent color because I'm going to be painting all the way down in stripes. So I'm leaving my door and my drawer right here. So I'm going to put this down. I'm going to grab my Louis Blue and I'm going to blend that in. Oh, I've got a little chip here. The idea is to give my dark wood a good covering. Blend these two colors together to create some interest. And work fairly quickly to get this down. The thing about Louis Blue and Duck Egg is they're quite similar in tone, so they're going to blend quite nicely. A little bit there. Okay, so now we'll do it on the side here. And again, because I'm blending, it doesn't really matter which way I start. So I'll start with Louis Blue. All the way down. I can hear the drawer pull rattling around inside the drawer. That's where I put them so that I don't lose them. Okay, and whoops, almost dipped it in the wrong one. Another Louis Blue. So I'm kind of feathering the paint out a little bit. And then I'll pick up my Duck Egg brush, dip it in, and blend my color. Trying to achieve two things, both covering the dark brown of the piece so that my ombre effect does well without seeing the brown through it, and also trying to blend and create a shading as I go. Both of these paints are quite gray in how they go on, so they're great at hiding the dark wood. Most of this dark wood has a little bit of a red to it, and a paint that has some gray in it is an excellent blocker of the reds. So that is the effect. You can kind of see, I start with Louis Blue, work into Duck Egg, Louis Blue, back into Louis Blue, and just keep going all along. Whoops, got a few little, as I get near the end of my can of Louis Blue, I have some little crusty bits in there. So I'm going to go around, I'm going to do the same thing all around this piece. We'll let it dry and we'll come back and do the ombre. We have a base coat now on our little cupboard. It was a base coat of Louis Blue and Duck Egg Blue. And you'll see that I did the drawer and the door all in one. Now, when I'm finished painting the whole thing, I'll go back and do this, probably in one of the complementary colors, but I don't stop and do it now because we're going to finish this. I also want to make sure my things are not stuck in there. Oh, that's right. Oh, I don't have a drawer right here. I have to pull it out. But I'll pull my drawer out. If you did have your paint caught here, you would just run a utility knife. But I've got this drawer jammed right in here because I'm painting over it. You'll notice that the top of the drawer is going to need paint the same way. But that's something you can go back and do later. Most of those pieces are hidden, but you just see a little edge of it. And to make it a little bit more finished, that's what I'll do. But this was the base coat for our ombre effect. Now this ombre effect starts with your Amsterdam Green on top, which I have ready to go here. I have Pure is the next color. The Pure White is going to be a band. A good way to look at it is right here. Amsterdam Green blends into Pure, blends into Greek, which then blends into Napoleonic, and I'm going to end up with solid Napoleonic on the bottom, where I started with solid Amsterdam on the top. This shading effect is achieved by moving the paint into each other with the brush. And because I might need to keep it wet while I'm working, because you have to do this all at once. This is not a project you can start halfway or stop halfway through and say, I think I'll take a coffee break. Have your coffee first, because you're going to need to keep going. It's also probably not a project you want to start for your first paint project unless you're doing a small piece. It's a little intimidating because you're working with the wet paint. But other than a spray bottle, there's nothing else that you're not using that you haven't already used if you've painted a piece. So let's get started. The nice thing too, step by step in the colorist. You don't have to figure out or watch a video and stop and start. You can use this and watch the video as a reference. So we're going to start by putting on our Amsterdam Green. Now the Amsterdam Green is my top coat. So I'm going to put it on here. You think about ombre as bands of color. I want to see a little bit of a blending as I work down my piece, but I need to see that solid color at the top and the bottom is kind of like anchor points. So I'm just going to do this quite quickly. Go around. If in the end I see a little bit of my base coat, that's fine. My base coat of Louis Blue and Duck Egg Blue is complementary to what I'm doing here. I'm going to paint all my detail in here. And then get a nice top coat on of Amsterdam Green. This is such a beautiful green, so rich. Reminds me of camping. Like trees. So nice smooth brush strokes to end. Make sure I have good coverage. The thing about ombre is, it's a one coat deal. I can't go back. I could go back and do the top again because it's solid green, but I can't do that to the sides. So here we go. I'm keeping this here as a reference point of the bands that I'm doing. I'm going to do a broad Amsterdam. Nice thick coat. All the way around. And that's the important part. I need it to be doing the same thing in a band all the way around. If I do it on one side and try to blend side to side, I'll never get it looking exactly right. it'll look like I stopped and started. I got a nice thick coat of paint here. Checking to make sure I have it all the way across. And that I have it all done. Okay, that's the end of my Amsterdam Green. Put that one over here. Now I'm grabbing a brush and I'm doing one band of pure white. Not going to touch yet my green, because if I do that I'm going to contaminate my paint. So I'm going to get my band of pure white on here. My slightly rocky platform. And I've got a little bit of contamination there, so I'm going to try not to dip back into the paint can. So that's my band of pure white. And let's do some blending. I can use this brush a little bit. I'm trying to keep my strokes not going up and down, but going sideways. I want my blend to be that way. Again, I don't want any gobs of paint, so I might have to go back and just touch it up. And I've got a clean brush here that's wet and ready to go, in case I need to switch, or if I have too much white on this, or too much green. I'm going to do the front. A little bit tricky right here because I've got some detail on my piece in the band or the trim. If I think it's getting a little bit too dry, just give it a mist. And this is truly a mist. I don't want it sprayed. I don't want gobs of water on it. I just want to leave it ready to work. As you know, chalk paint dries quickly. I need it to stay wet long enough to do some blending. And here you can feel it. As you're dragging your brush across, it's got a little bit of a drag in the paint rather than nice, smooth finish. Okay. Got a little bit in there that I want to get worked out. My flat brush can do that a little bit better than my round brush. And right here you can see I have a little bit of gob of paint. I don't want that. So I use my flat brush to work that out too. And if I'm happy with how that looks, again, I'm not too worried here. If I end up, I can take a knife and just cut away the paint so that it frees the drawer. And I'm doing the same thing all the way around here. You can see I have a little bit of green. Remember, this is all the eye of the beholder. This has to make, in this case, me happy. Possibly Sean, the cameraman. But I don't want to see a whole lot of brush strokes. Okay, so I'm finished with that. Well, I keep a damp towel here so that I'm ready to go if I need to change a brush out. And I'm going to grab my next brush. I'm going to put a layer of Greek here. All the way across. nice thick coat so that I have something to work with. And I'm going to just wipe off the green on my white so I can dip back into my white can and get a little bit of white to blend these two together. Just tipping it in so that I don't contaminate my white. And working very quickly. This is real time. Now I'm going to do some blending. I want to blend the white into the Greek. With the green on top. Leaving a little bit of the pure Greek at the bottom. And I got a bristle right there. Trying not to leave any white as a strong streak right there. White's not the color I'm looking for. It's the blues and the greens. The white is just to help lighten it as we work our way down. So at this point, I'm going to stand back, have a little look at it, make sure that I'm happy with how that blended, on, especially on my sides. I seem to have a little bit more blue here and white on this side. I'll just go back and touch that up. And use my cloth to clean off my big brush so that I can get in and make sure I don't have too much white clogged in there. Oops, that's what I don't want. I want that to look smooth. Okay, so now I'm going to finish with my white. I'm going to do a nice thick coat of my Greek because my Greek is going to go down into my Napoleonic. So I need a good blending coat here. And here I'm going to paint that knob. Remember that knob? That's the one I couldn't get off. It had it's rusted right on. So I tried WD, oops, that's not what I want to do, but we can fix that. I'm going to paint all the way around that knob and just make it disappear and become part of the piece of furniture. If you can't fight it, embrace it, figure out a way to make it work. Okay, nice thick coat of Greek. And we're moving to the last coat, which is Napoleonic. So this is going to end in a solid Napoleonic. My blending will end a little bit above the bottom of the case, of the cupboard, and I'll do the feet in Napoleonic. So I can do those after. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. I'm going to just get the blending part done while the paint is wet. And I'm all around here doing a coat that doesn't touch Greek blue yet. And on a cover like this, kind of nice. I have sort of a dividing line. The little bit of trim here at the bottom acts like a natural end point. So a good thick coat. I can go back and do underneath there. Oops, make sure you dip into the right one. And a good thick coat here of my Napoleonic. Just using up a little bit of paint here. I've got a lot of paint on my brush before I start blending. Okay. I'm going back and I'm going to grab my Greek blue brush. Keep putting them down and then turning the piece around. Now here I know it's starting to dry. So I'm going to give the whole thing a little spritz. It's going to take me a minute to get around to that. So I want this Greek blue to blend into the Napoleonic. I'm going to bring a little bit more Napoleonic up there. Need a little bit more color. A little more depth. Go all the way around here. Now, I want to make sure here that I don't blend everything. I need some definition of line. I need some blending of colors. I don't want to see just solid white then solid Greek. So I'm just going back here a little bit and pulling a little bit of this down. And you can do that because I have white on one side of the brush, and when I come back I pick up bluey blue, or I pick up Greek blue, sorry, so I can end up there. Go around. I don't want drips of paint, so I am making sure that I watch those. Go all the way around here. Because I sprayed it, I still have some time here to work. Kept it a little misty. So you don't want to play with it too much. You don't want to keep working it. If you keep working it, you're eventually going to work with dry paint and you're just going to splodge it up. So what I'm going to do now is get my brush, my straight brush, clean off the end, and just tidy up. Right here, got a little bit of mess of paint right there. I don't want to see that, so I'm just going to tidy it up. But I'm going to keep wiping it off so that I don't move, for instance, a whole lot of green down here. That would kind of ruin the effect. Just make sure I wipe off my brush each time I do a little tidy. This is starting to dry, so we're going to leave it. Right here, I have a little drip. It's coming out where the paint has gone down in the door, so I want to keep in the crack of the door. I want to keep an eye on that. I want to get rid of the white that's right there. Go around, make sure I don't have any major drips anywhere. In the corner right here, and you can see I've got a big lump of paint that I haven't blended in right here because the stroke's going the wrong way, the brush strokes. And here I have a drip of paint. And because I want to make sure that I keep it strong, Napoleonic on the bottom, a nice solid band, I'll go back over with a little Napoleonic full strength. And that, with a little bit of right here on the edge of the drawer, I just want to give that just a little tiny bit more feathering. Oh, it's got a little too much blue in it. I'll just dab some of that off. If I get a little too much, I'll go back to my little bit of green, white, and just blend a little tiny bit. That's a good example if I should have left it alone. Just dabbed a little bit of white into there. There. And we're going to leave that. I'll finish up the legs. I'll do those in the Napoleonic, and we'll have that, and then we'll see how this looks. And when we finish this in another episode, we'll be doing clear wax and a little bit of dark wax to help bring out some of the detail, because this cupboard does have some nice little work in here and all around the top. But now I just need to walk away and let it dry. So looking forward to seeing you next week, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for joining me. There are 3 ways you can participate in our Renew project. 1, donate a piece for me to paint. Send me a picture though, I can't paint everything. And we're still looking for 4 or 5 pieces that we need to paint, and we will donate paint and donate them to the auction or to Chrysalis House. 2, you paint along with me. Come in and get some paint. We'll consult on colors. We'll give you a discount on your purchase. You paint along with me and donate your piece to the auction in May, and we'll make sure those funds go directly to Chrysalis House. Or 3, what if you don't want to paint or donate? You could donate cash. Project Renew is a building fundraiser for Chrysalis House. You can contact them directly to make arrangements on how to donate. Welcome to the project.